Dear finance professionals and students, welcome to podcast of FCA Deepak Rao, a practicing chartered accountant. Weekly digest for week 4 of January 2025. India is set to significantly reduce import duties on cars from the European Union. Tariffs will drop to 40% from as high as 110%. This move is part of a major free trade agreement expected soon. European automakers like Volkswagen and BMW will see easier market access. This pact aims to boost bilateral trade and Indian exports. Gold prices have reached a record high of over $5,000 per ounce. This surge is driven by global uncertainty and policies from US President Donald Trump. Recent events, including trade war fears and pressure on the Federal Reserve, have boosted gold's appeal. Investors are seeking safe havens as confidence in the dollar and bonds wavers. India begins 2026 on a strong economic note. Domestic demand will drive growth, expected to be amongst the world's highest. Inflation remains controlled, supporting growth-friendly monetary policy. Earnings growth is set to continue. While global factors will influence markets, India's economy shows stability and selective opportunities. Key sectors like financials and capital goods are poised for gains. HealthCart, the nutrition and supplements platform founded in 2011, has managed to post strong growth even as quick commerce reshapes how consumers buy health products online. The company reported revenues of Rs 1,368 crore and profit of Rs 120 crore in financial year 25, up 29% and more than threefold respectively from the previous year, helped by sharp improvement in unit economics and a steady push into own brands. HealthCart's strategy has increasingly centered on brand ownership. It now owns 8 nutrition brands. Amazon Pay is betting on fixed deposits through partnerships with Shriram Finance and Shivalik SFB, even as digital FD volumes across UPI-led apps drop by 20 to 40%. Amazon Pay's recent entry into fixed deposits comes at a time when digital FD volumes are slowing sharply, raising questions about whether the product can gain traction on consumer apps the way mutual funds, stocks or loans have over the past few years. The move follows a similar effort by Google Pay, which exited the segment in 2021 after failing to see meaningful traction. Mercedes-Benz Financial Services India, the non-banking financial company arm of Mercedes-Benz India, has achieved a loan book milestone of Rs 15,000 crore. This represents a 30.43% year-on-year growth from the Rs 11,500 crore mark the company reached last year. The Mercedes NBFC has benefited from the luxury car maker's record sales in 2025, with the company selling 19,000 vehicles, marking its best ever year in terms of revenue. Starlink's Gen 2 constellation, offering advanced technologies like direct-to-device or D2D connectivity, has been rejected by India's IN-Space regulator due to unmet requirements and unpermitted frequency bands. The regulator approved only Starlink's Gen 1 for traditional broadband, while D2D services await a regulatory framework in India. Waaree Renewable Technologies will acquire a 55% stake in Gujarat-based Associated Power Structures Limited for Rs 1,225 crore, marking the Waaree Group's entry into grid and transmission infrastructure. The deal involves a mix of primary and secondary share purchases and will make APCL a subsidiary of Waaree Renewable, valuing the company at Rs 2,800 crore. India and Russia are on track to reach $100 billion in bilateral trade by 2030. Ambassador Vinay Kumar stated that this target is achievable. Efforts are underway to expand trade items including fertilizers, agriculture and engineering. A free trade agreement will further boost this goal. After nearly 2 decades of negotiations since 2007, India and European Union have entered a decisive phase of the India-EU Trade and Investment Agreement, with a possible conclusion on January 27th, coinciding with the 16th India-EU Summit. Negotiations have focused on reducing India's high tariffs on wines, spirits, and automobiles, often as high as 150 to 200%. These issues were among the primary deal breakers in earlier negotiations. A calibrated reduction in these tariffs would open one of the world's largest and fastest growing markets to European businesses. India's capital markets regulator has cleared two companies' public foray as construction tech platform Infra.Market and luxury fashion retailer Purple Style Labs move closer to initial public offerings. Wari announced acquisition of a 76% stake in Racemosa Energy for around Rs 53 crore during the month. The Maharashtra-based firm specializes in manufacturing smart meters, a segment that is becoming increasingly critical under the government's smart metering push. On January 19th, the RBI revised the Priority Sector Lending or PSL framework to align it with recent regulatory changes, allowing banks to treat lending to National Cooperative Development Corporation as eligible PSL under specified conditions. It also clarified certain existing provisions and references in the guidelines. These latest changes are aimed at pushing banks towards direct lending and tighter borrower-level accountability, while reducing reliance on indirect routes such as on-lending through NBFCs and bankers. The European Union and India on Tuesday signed a landmark trade deal, one that includes reducing tariffs on imports of EU-made cars to 10% from as high as 110%. It represents the biggest opening yet of India's vast car market to European original equipment manufacturers. The Indian auto market is heavily dominated by domestic players, which will be difficult to disrupt, but this gives European auto manufacturers a fighting chance. India's electronics sector is set for significant growth. The new trade deal grants Indian manufacturers easier access to the European Union's large electronics market. This agreement is expected to boost India's electronics exports to $50 billion by 2031. Indian companies will also benefit from cheaper access to advanced European machinery for producing complex electronics and semiconductors. India's retail real estate market scaled a new high in 2025, with leasing across major cities touching about 8.9 million square feet, driven by robust demand from fashion, food, and direct-to-consumer brands, according to a report from CBRE. The record absorption came even as developers added nearly 4.3 million square feet of new retail supply during the year, marking a 268% jump over 2024 levels. Hyderabad accounted for more than half of the new completions, followed by Mumbai and Delhi NCR, the report said. Chinese automaker BYD is exploring local assembly in India to meet high demand for its electric vehicles. The company is seeking regulatory approvals for more models due to import quotas. This move follows visits by BYD executives and aims to overcome import barriers. BYD's India sales surged last year, showing the market's potential and regulatory changes. Food tech major Swiggy on Tuesday said it has enabled users to order food, groceries, and book restaurant tables directly through conversational artificial intelligence tools such as ChatGPT, Claude, and Google Gemini, embedding commerce inside AI chat interfaces. Customers can now browse and purchase from over 40,000 products using natural language prompts, bypassing traditional app-based navigation. Tata Consultancy Services or TCS has announced a Rs 330 crore investment to develop a new facility in Brazil to deepen its presence in Latin America. The company stated that the center in Londrina, Brazil, will be a major delivery and innovation center and will create 1,600 new jobs. The Tata Group company and India's biggest IT services player said this is one of its largest investments in Latin America, and the center is expected to be completed by 2027. JSW Energy is set to build its first nuclear power plant by 2030. The company is exploring different reactor technologies, including large and small modular options. A pilot plant will be constructed first to understand operations. Site selection is also in progress. JSW Energy aims for timely execution and cost control in this significant venture. The Expenditure Finance Committee has approved a Rs 8,000 crore credit guarantee scheme to support microfinance institutions, officials aware of the matter said, providing government backing to a sector that has been facing increased delinquencies and difficulty in raising funds. A new India-EU trade deal opens doors for EU banks in India. EU banks can now establish 15 branches over 4 years. India also permits 100% foreign direct investment in its insurance sector. In return, Indian professionals will benefit from a more stable visa regime. This agreement boosts financial services for both regions. Vodafone Idea on Wednesday outlined a 3-year turnaround roadmap anchored around a Rs 45,000 crore investment plan, as it seeks to shift from balance sheet stabilization to growth. The company said the capital infusion is aimed at delivering double-digit revenue growth, tripling EBITDA and returning to subscriber additions over the medium term. The company management said the next phase of its strategy is focused on rebuilding competitive strength across network quality, customer experience, and coverage depth after several years of constrained investment. The Securities and Exchange Board of India, or SEBI, has notified the SEBI Listing Obligations and Disclosure Requirements Amendment Regulations 2026. One of the most significant changes introduced by the amendment regulations is the upward revision of the threshold for identifying high-value debt-listed entities, or HVDLEs. Earlier, entities with listed non-convertible debt securities of Rs 1,000 crores or more were classified as HVDLEs. Under the amended Regulation 15(1)A of the LODR regulations, an entity shall now be classified as an HVDLE only where the outstanding value of listed non-convertible debt securities is Rs 5,000 crores or more. This change follows SEBI's consultation proposal dated 27th October 2025 and is aimed at rationalizing compliance requirements by limiting enhanced governance obligations to truly large debt-listed entities. Consequential amendments have been made across the LODR framework to align references with the revised threshold. Amazon on Wednesday said it would cut around 16,000 corporate jobs as part of an effort to reduce management layers and redirect resources amid growing competition in artificial intelligence. The company said US-based employees affected by the decision would be given 90 days to seek alternative roles internally, along with severance and transition support. The latest announcement followed a previous round of job reductions disclosed a few months earlier, when Amazon said it planned to cut about 14,000 roles. Taken together, the reductions mirrored the scale of layoffs carried out in late 2022 and early 2023 when the company eliminated about 27,000 positions. Adani Group is set to borrow between $1 billion and $1.5 billion in Japanese yen. This move follows credit upgrades from a Japanese rating agency. The funds will be raised over the next 12 to 18 months. This will increase Adani's access to long-term capital from Japan. Japanese investors offer long maturities, benefiting infrastructure-heavy groups. Reliance Industries will purchase up to 150,000 barrels per day of Russian oil starting in February for its domestic market refinery. This follows a pause and a US concession that allowed winding down dealings with sanctioned producer Rosneft. Reliance will source from non-sanctioned sellers as it diversifies supply. Brent crude oil topped $70 per barrel Thursday for the first time since September, as US President Donald Trump ramped up geopolitical tensions by threatening military strikes on Iran. In London morning deals, international benchmark oil contract Brent North Sea crude oil jumped 2.4% to $70.06 per barrel. Ever since the start of 2026, metals have been the talk of the town. Whether it be rising safe haven demand or supply chain disruptions, the price rally for precious metals seems to have no end. In India, precious metals soared to new highs as silver futures crossed the record rupees 4 lakh per kg mark, while gold prices surged to a record high of rupees 1.8 lakh per 10 grams. And it's not just precious metals, base metals like copper, nickel, and aluminium have also been posting strong gains. The Enforcement Directorate or ED has attached fresh assets worth over rupees 1,800 crore from companies linked to Reliance Group chairman Anil Ambani, according to a report by PTI. The action is part of the agency's ongoing alleged money laundering investigation. With this latest action, the total value of assets attached by the Federal Probe Agency in the case now stands at nearly rupees 12,000 crore as per PTI report. The persistence of delayed payments remains a critical challenge for the micro, small and medium enterprises or MSME sector, with an estimated rupees 8.1 trillion locked in delayed payments impacting working capital and restricting growth, the economic survey tabled on Thursday by Union Minister for Finance and Corporate Affairs Nirmala Sitharaman said. The survey further added that MSMEs form the backbone of India's industrial economy. It mentioned that the sector accounts for approximately 35.4% of manufacturing, around 48.58% of exports, and 31.1% of GDP in the country. With over 7.47 crore enterprises employing more than 32.82 crore people, the sector holds its position as the second largest employer after agriculture. In a bold move towards economic revitalization, the government is preparing to launch a groundbreaking initiative aimed at revamping public sector banks. This strategic plan is a cornerstone of the ambitious Viksit Bharat 2047 vision, aspiring to position these banks among the top 20 globally competitive financial institutions. Markets regulator SEBI has given its no objection for the National Stock Exchange's initial public offering. This clearance is a significant regulatory step for India's largest stock exchange. NSE is now expected to move closer to finalizing its IPO structure and timing. The listing is anticipated to draw strong investor interest due to NSE's dominant market position. Inox Clean Energy is securing a rupees 3,400 crore 20-year loan from NABFID to refinance debt post-acquisition of Macquarie's Vibrant Energy. This loan, priced between 8 to 8.5%, will be secured by 7 solar, wind and hybrid projects with long-term PPAs. The move aims to retire expensive debt and reduce the company's equity component. Bengaluru-based aerospace components manufacturer JJG Aero has raised $30 million in Series B funding from Norwest. Veda Corporate Advisors acted as the sole transaction advisor on the deal. The company said the freshly raised funds will support the construction and capacity addition at its upcoming facility in North Bangalore, driving vertical integration and fund and other strategic initiatives. The initial merger process between Union Bank of India and Bank of India seems to have begun. Both banks are currently undertaking due diligence, including internal assessments of processes and operational integration. The merger would create one of the country's largest public sector lenders with a substantially expanded balance sheet, branch network and customer base. The combined entity would become the second largest PSU bank with assets of about 25.4 lakh crore in financial year 25 and the third largest bank overall after State Bank of India and HDFC Bank. The government is keen to merge smaller banks with larger ones to create 4 to 5 big PSU banks instead of the current 12. Ola Electric on Friday announced that it will lay off 5% of its workforce as part of a restructuring exercise, less than a year after it let go over 1,000 employees and contract workers in a similar drive aimed at improving profitability. The latest round of restructuring is estimated to impact more than 500 employees and workers, although the company has not specified the number affected. The restructuring comes at a time when Ola Electric is struggling to sustain its sales and market position in the electric two-wheeler segment.
This podcast is sponsored by Sound of CA. We share because we care. Vande Mataram, Jai Hind.